And then the gold rush started. We were living in Larchmont. Gold rush started, and he wanted to go, but he had no money. So two men of Tacoma, who had done business with him when he was on the transfer business, volunteered to help him get to Alaska. Alaska was a cheap, you get up there pretty cheap. You could ship a horse for $5. And he had two horses left at that time. One was so darn mean nobody would have it. He couldn't give it away and he couldn't sell it. So he decided to take it with him. The other horse was a good, gentle horse, and he could leave that down here, which he never did claim again. And this horse he carried up, he had left on this little steamer, Edith. She was just crowded. He had this horse on, and he got into Skagway. They went through the rough places on the trip. They could see all kind of dead horses around, floating on the water, which was killed by the rock of the ship and the falling down, and the others tramp them because they were crowded in this. Unloaded this horse on the beach, which they had to do. Then they had to lower him into the water and swim him ashore. And when he got on the beach, the man stepped up and he said, "Mister, I'll give you $175 for that horse. I'll hire you. If you can handle that horse, you can handle mine. I'll give you $5 a day in your keep." Which was a gold mine to a man that had been working for 50 cents a day and feeding his own horses. So he went to work for this man, which was the first man to bring pack horses into Skagway. And he worked for him for a while. Turn that thing off. I gotta drink my coffee. Bought a pig. They were driving pigs over the White Pass Trail. The wagon road was built. It was a trail of 97. Now, and they moved down onto the river in the winter of 98. In the spring of 97, they moved up onto the wagon road. In the fall of 97, they moved on up to the railroad. So you see how fast the country grew. The surveyors landed in Skagway in March of 98. In August of 98, the train was running as far as White Pass City. That's the first 13 miles out of town. And the White Pass Railroad is the only railroad, so I have been told, that ever paid for itself mile for mile as it was built. See, people, if you could haul your freight from here 2 miles, you didn't have to pack it. So even for 2 miles they'd pay the freight on that horse. It cost them from 50 cents, anywhere from 50 cents to $1, maybe more, if you hired a pack train. Because if I have a load and you have a load, they take my load for 75 cents maybe. And you come along and you say, "Well, I want to get over. I'll pay you $1 a pound." Well, you leave my load and take your load. Somebody else may walk up and say, "I'll pay you $1.25 for that a pound." Well, your load is left. That's the way the packers pack their freight. Dad had one price and he charged it, and he didn't take somebody else in the place of them. Most of them would leave your load because it was more money for them. But when the train came along, if they could get that first mile, they'd take it. They get the second mile, they'd take that and pay the freight. made the packing much cheaper. And in August they were running the trains as far as White Pass City. My oldest brother got sick in White Pass City in August, and Mother brought him down on the train to Skagway. Left us kids up in the old hotel. Took him down with the pack train. So when we were coming down, then the packers thought they'd keep track of us kids by not letting us have a halter or a bridle on the horses. So they took them all off. They didn't know that us kids had been taking the horses to water, and batting their ears for where we'd want them to go. So we could drive anyhow. We got around the corner of Rocky Point, and the little old engine came around and says, "Tip, tip." Well, the horse my brother was on was gone. And they never stopped that horse until they got clear into town. We kids went after him. And them packers never dared tell Mother that they had taken the bridles and halters off them horses. They never dared tell it. If Pa didn't know it, they wouldn't have no job. That's the way life goes, We kids were smart, but we had more fun than the kids today. But this pig that I was going to tell you about, when they were driving the pigs over, we lived in a little old hotel. And they lost a lot of their pigs on that first 13 miles driving them over. Pigs can't stand that rough ground. So the big-hearted guy, he says to my little brother, he says, "Hey, Sonny, I'll give you a pig if you take care of this." So he gives Frank a pig, and he says, "You got to take care of it and keep it warm, and it'll be all right." Frank crawls way in under the bunkhouse, and we fix a nice bed for the pig, and put it to bed and fed it. In the morning, the pig was dead. The pig was already half dead when they gave it to him. So we didn't have pig. We had dead pig. And it was in White Pass City, when we lived there, that they were going to lynch the doctor. He hadn't been at what they called the Camp in the Clouds. At that time, it was way up on top of the hill, and it was really in the clouds. And there was a lot of men up there hurt and sick. And he hadn't been up there. Well, the main hospital at that time was in White Pass City, at the foot of the hill. And we kids out saw these men going down with their axes, their saws, and their guns, and their lanterns, and everything else. We thought that's a lot of fun. They were going to do something. We'd go and see. The mother come out of the door just as we kids were going down the trail. She stopped all the fun. But they turned over that night. They turned over the beds. They turned over everything in that hospital. Tried to find the doctor. One man got smart, and he rode horseback as fast as he could down into town and told the doctor what was going on. The doctor was down having a good time in town. Before daylight, the doctor was in the Camp of the Clouds. Now you see what lynch parties will do. Yeah. I don't. Another thing, these don't jibe, see. Another thing that struck me in those days was when we were standing on the bridge going over to the wagon road from the hotel. We heard a man singing, and it sounded so nice. You couldn't see anybody yet. Pretty soon around the corner comes a man sitting sideways on a horse. He wasn't straddle of the horse, he was sitting sideways. And he was singing, "There'll be a hot time in my home when I get there." He was happy. And that has always stuck in my mind, that the happiness that was in that voice coming round the mountain. That is something that you don't always find.